get out of the airport, I mean, it would be, yeah, so I thought, no.
Yeah, I thought it was leaving with like more than enough time. I looked at the clock and like, oh my, I need to get here soon.
Big agendas.
It is a big agenda today.
Seelan, which agenda item was that?
B.
B. Thank you.
The annexation, but I told him he could speak after the presenter. And I told Jimmy too. I figured the more people know, no chances of
Minutes.
forgetting.
Right? Oh yeah, that's right. This clock, Garden City time is 1 minute behind normal time, 50 seconds behind. Might make a difference.
I like that.
Oh, I think this is for you. And by for you, I mean you can put in the trash. From GoGov. You want a branded mobile app? It's just crazy that like it would work. Like you'd get spam mail as mayor, and you're like, you know what? Let's do this. I don't know. I mean, they gotta tell people about them stuff somehow. Unless you want it.
Am I reading all of them, all of the proclamations?
Twice, please.
Am I reading the Fiesta one?
No.
Okay.
Well, would you like to read it at the park?
I can read it at the park.
Okay. Western Kansas Community Foundation, I don't. Oh, yes, there's people here, yes. Vicki Harshberger, there's people here, yes.
Okay.
And Diana Sanford, yes. So all of them but Fiesta.
All of them except.
Except yes.
Right.
The whereas, the whereas.
I know, there's not as many whereas.
Matt, a couple things. One, there's been an update to that, so now we are bookmarks on the right. You can't change it.
All right. Are we ready?
Oh, wow.
Good afternoon. It is 1 o'clock, our regularly scheduled business meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor.
All right. Today it is Commissioner Dick's turn to do the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow. Dear God, thank you for giving us today, and thank you for giving us a great community that is growing. Please help us continue to be caring for everyone, and let the work that we do for our community be a reflection of all that is good and the extension of your love. Please help us be wise with our daily lives and our decisions today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, next up is approval of the minutes. Did anybody see any corrections or changes that needed to be made? Okay, all right. If not, those stand approved as written. Before we go into public comment, there is something that I would like to do, to bring up. It's out of our normal order of business, but and I do so because I do appreciate the discipline that we exercise as a board during our business meeting. But I would like to move up one of my comments that would normally be held at the end of the meeting to this part of the meeting. And I do so because I know that we have a long meeting today, but I also believe that we might have a few residents who could be watching who shared some concerns with us at Tuesday's town hall. And so I just wanted to take a moment to kind of address those concerns after visiting with staff and kind of getting a better sense of the past of what has been done, but then also, you know, maybe brainstorming some solutions that we could entertain or think about. So if you're okay with that. So, you know, the nice thing about a town hall is that it's a venue that allows us to, you know, for people to bring up anything that they'd like. The downside, however, is that it doesn't really lend itself to bringing much in the way of thoughtful and coordinated response, well, much less a resolution on either side. And so last Tuesday, we did have some residents from Wilson Addition and Campus Garden South neighborhoods who expressed some concerns and some frustration over sewer backups that occurred the early morning of July 21st during a rain event that dropped 4.5 to 5.5 inches of rain in 2 hours. Now, our staff provided residents reported damage with claim forms, many of which have been submitted and turned into insurance. And at this point, it's appropriate to let those claims be considered by the city's insurance carrier and or subrogated between the homeowner's insurance policy and the city's carrier. Prior to that, the last instance of a rain event causing a sewer backup was in May of 2021. Now, I say these things to kind of give a background, and I might get a little technical at times, but I think that background will be helpful as we go forward in figuring out a solution. During that event in 2021, the Headworks wet well at the wastewater treatment plant filled as a result of a failure of a pump to start. This caused the sewer line filled with high volumes of rainwater to back up and affect the two nearest neighborhoods. Many of these homes either did not have backflow prevention devices or their devices malfunctioned. The initial response from the city's insurance company was to deny those claims because of the large rain event. City staff visited at that time with the underwriters to ensure that they had taken into account the events at the wastewater treatment plant and that it did not operate at full capacity during that event because of the failed pump and corresponding absence of an alarm, providing warning that the pump had activated. At a minimum, staff believe that there should be some consideration given as to whether the May 2021 event would have been large enough to be considered an act of God to cause the extent of the backup that occurred had the wastewater collection system and the wastewater treatment plant had the opportunity to operate at full capacity. Upon reconsideration, the city's insurance company paid 48 claims. In 2013, similar situation, there were 29 claims paid, and in 2014, the city's insurance company did deny 9 claims in that same neighborhood. So coming back to the storm that we had in July, the combination of the quantity of rain and the short window of time in which it came down recorded the most intense stormwater event that we've probably had in 20 years, even possibly 40 years. During the storm, the city had personnel in the field at the lift station I mentioned earlier and monitored the headworks of the wastewater treatment plant. Based on our monitoring numbers and what our staff saw throughout the community, our stormwater and our sanitary sewer systems were operating properly at full capacity. That storm was larger than our system during the peak hours during that 2-hour window. As a result, homes in the neighborhood closest to the end of the wastewater collection system with basements and either without a backflow prevention device or with one that failed or malfunctioned had a sewage and stormwater backup into their basement. Sewage in your basement is not only unpleasant, it is disruptive to the lives of everyone in that household. It's expensive to clean, and it's even more expensive to replace the lost flooring, drywall, and personal belongings. In reconciling the claims in this storm, I believe that we have a responsibility to let the insurance companies, whether it's the homeowner's policy or the city's policy, determine liability. Our job, however, is to be an open book with them as to what was experienced and lost by each resident impacted and what was experienced and reported regarding the operation of the stormwater and sewer systems in place, just as we did in 2021. Now, I'm not advocating that we close any discussions on paying affected residents before the claims are processed, but I don't believe it is an appropriate one to have when open claims remain on an event that we've turned over to our insurance company. Additionally, this storm event was submitted by Finney County Emergency Management for a state-level emergency disaster declaration. While contents and cleanup of basements aren't always covered by disasters, in some instances, in some cases, city staff believes that it's worthwhile to pursue that possibility on behalf of the affected residents. While our role isn't very active during the time the insurance and Kansas Department of Emergency Management processes unfold, I do think we can begin an active discussion, both as a board of 5 commissioners and the city and neighborhoods working together to pursue solutions that can at least reduce the frequency of the backups occurring and ideally eliminating them. There are certainly solutions we can pursue from a city infrastructure side of things, but the reality is that underground storm sewers cannot be sized up to keep water from storing in roadways and rights-of-way. Infiltration of stormwater will occur during a large rain event. In a town that's as large and flat as Garden City, natural runoff is slow and widespread. Large rains will store in the roadways and the right-of-way and infiltrate sewer manhole covers. Since 2021, the city has invested in additional cleaning, camera inspection, and manhole restoration to reduce infiltration and convey water more effectively and efficiently. Also, city staff, in partnership with our consulting engineering firms, in researching system-wide flow monitoring equipment, additional manhole restoration, smoke testing, alternatives for diverting and storing sewer flows during major storm events, a second wastewater treatment plant, and another major sewer interceptor for the east side of the city, similar to the one built in 2017 for the area south of DD1, Drainage Ditch 1, and east of Campus Drive. I would ask that staff prepare for our consideration in the coming weeks proposals that range in scale and pricing with some estimates as to the impact those changes might have on increasing the storm threshold where our systems become overwhelmed. By accounts, it appears some of the changes in the last few years have helped, as there were at least one other rain event this prior year that rivaled 2021, 2013, and 2014 events in the volume of rain over a short period of time, and there were no reported claims, and there was still capacity left in the storm sewer and the sanitary sewer systems. Also, I don't want to lose the opportunity to partner, maybe in an unconventional way, on the one thing that we can do to make the biggest difference, and that is to get functioning backflow prevention devices in each of these homes. There may be residents in other neighborhoods who object to us investing time and money into something that could be argued to be the homeowner's responsibility, but I would argue that we already do this in other areas, like rebating the costs of rain smart sensors, sidewalks, trees, and improvements to the home that increase energy efficiency. Regardless of the reason why these homes don't have backflow prevention devices, or if the homes do have them, they haven't been checked annually to make sure they function when needed, I believe there is a great deal of public interest in us investing our time, money, and purchasing power to change the narrative for those in the neighborhood willing to cooperate. We can continue to make improvements to the stormwater collection system, investigate and button down the integrity of the sewer collection system, but the narrative won't change the next time there is another 5-inch rain in 2 hours. It may rise the bar a little higher for the size of a storm that it takes to begin backing up the system, but the only defense this neighborhood has against 5 inches of rain in 2 hours is a backflow prevention device. I'm willing to advocate putting public money towards these private improvements to bring these homes up to the same level that is required in new construction elsewhere in the city. These neighborhoods are at or near the lowest elevation in the city and in closest proximity to the wastewater treatment plant. They are at the greatest risk, and this is the most effective way we can help. So unless there is broad objection amongst this commission, I would ask that city staff also bring back to us for consideration in the coming weeks a proposal for a backflow prevention program that would have worked out the details of property owners' consent and then the details of inspecting for an existing device, replacing it if it's old or damaged, or putting in a new one if it doesn't exist. In my mind, I envision negotiating a uniform price for equipment and labor with local licensed plumbers, with some flexibility in pricing depending on the complexity of the existing location and/or options for a new location. But I'm open to other alternatives that the city staff might come up with through the course of their investigations. Finally, I don't see this benefit as being limited to just those who have submitted claims. I believe we should anticipate a larger footprint because if all the homes that have had reoccurring backups during very large rain events participate and the sewage can no longer escape into these basements, it will continue to store and back up in the sewer main until the storm subsides or until it finds a new unprotected basement further up the line. This plan should anticipate blocking as many of those unprotected release points as possible and maximize the storage capacity at the line. So in conclusion, my request of my fellow commissioners is that we direct staff to provide us with 2 proposals in the coming weeks. 1, a proposal with strategies, costs, and projected impacts for improvements to the storm sewer system and the defense of the sanitary sewer system during large rain events. This can include accelerating existing efforts as well as investing in new projects. And 2, a proposal for a backflow prevention program in neighborhoods susceptible to backups, namely Wilson Addition and Campus Garden South. We do have the commissioner comments section at the end of the meeting, and you can generally talk about this if you'd like individually about the topic, but for this portion of the meeting, is there any objection to having staff prepare the 2 proposals that I've described as business items for upcoming consideration? Understanding that you aren't approving anything at this point, simply more narrowly defining the background work we want prepared for consideration and the timeline in which to see it. So if you are all okay with the general consensus, we can go ahead and direct staff to do so. And I think it would be a great opportunity, and one of those opportunities, especially, when we had representatives there were 3 that represented 40 different households, and knowing that we have this issue and it does affect those 2 subdivisions, it would be nice to have a plan in place to help them out. So.
Sounds good.
All right, well, thank you for allowing me to go into some pretty big details there. But anyway, I appreciate the opportunity. And now is the time for public comment. And this is an opportunity for those of you in the audience who would like to speak on any of the topics that are not on the agenda. I would, however, like to first welcome Secretary Calvin Reed from the Kansas Department of Transportation, and he'll be giving us an update of KDOT happenings and important community events. So welcome.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I appreciate spending the morning with a lot of you going and looking at some pretty impressive transportation improvements that are happening across the city. Must say, I'm quite impressed with the new airport terminal out at the Garden City Airport. Something you all should be very proud of. I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening at KDOT right now. We are in year 3 of the Eisenhower Legacy Transportation Program, what we call IKE for short. IKE was originally estimated at a $10 billion program to be delivered over the course of 10 years. It really focuses on preservation of our existing roadway systems, modernization and expansion of systems in key areas, but then also giving Kansans more options for transportation. So looking at our different modes of transportation, whether it be short line rail improvements, airport improvements, or bike and ped facilities across the state, they are all covered under KDOT's IKE program. So very excited about it. We are in year 3 of the program, and I'm happy to say that we are meeting all of the targets that were set for us in our legislation and actually exceeding targets in most areas. So we're very pleased to report that. Lots of really, really good things happening across the state. The governor and I were down in Dodge City last week. Many of you may have seen that announcement. We announced $40.5 million worth of local bridge improvements that really we were able to do because of 2 different things. One, the bipartisan infrastructure law that passed a couple of years ago that created a new program to address local bridges all across the country. But then we were able to take that money, that money was actually for any bridges, specifically bridges that are in poor condition. We were able to take that money and really focus it on the local system because we know that's where the most need is. Kansas has about 25,000 bridges, of which about 80% of them are owned by cities and counties. So it's really important that we continue to support our cities and counties in making good decisions about the future of their transportation systems, and we know that bridges are a big part of that. So we were able to award one very large project in southwest Kansas, a $7 million improvement for a bridge over the Ark River. Very excited about the program. I'm a former bridge engineer, so I'm always excited when we invest in bridges. I will also just point out that none of this could happen without good, strong partnerships. And I'm pleased to say we have a great partnership here in Garden City. We have a great relationship with your city staff. KDOT staff are very familiar with you, and obviously your city administrator is very vocal about what the needs of this region are and is a very, very vocal advocate for transportation in southwest Kansas. So thank you for your partnership. A couple things that I just wanted to announce in case it's not on your radar, and this is just a little bit of a reset of how the IKE program works. The IKE program is what we call a rolling program. Every 2 years, we go out and meet with cities, counties, citizens across the state of Kansas and try to understand their priorities for transportation. We bring a suite of projects to them, and basically we get feedback on those projects to understand which ones are the highest regional priorities. We do this in each of our 6 regions across the state, and then we also have 2 located in our 2 major metro areas, Wichita and Kansas City. So we have 8 in-person meetings, and they will begin in early October. So our first meeting is actually here in Garden City on October 4th at 9:00 a.m. at the Clarion Inn. I highly, highly encourage anybody, obviously policymakers, but citizens in general, to come and talk to KDOT, identify what your problems are and what your priorities are. This is our opportunity to listen and take that back and develop a statewide prioritization of what we're going to do over the remaining life of the program. So very excited about that. And like I said, that will be October 4th, 9 a.m. at the Clarion Inn. Another thing that I would just like to point out that will be coming available soon, and this is not KDOT specific, but it is infrastructure related. In the last legislative session, the governor proposed and the legislature passed a bill that would allow $200 million of investment, state investment, to provide match for any local needs. So local communities that want to provide needs that are applying for federal funds. In this case, federal funds are made available through the bipartisan infrastructure law. A lot of those have some sort of match requirement. We will have an application open here in the next couple weeks for cities and counties to apply for state money to become their local match, all or part of their local match. This is very exciting. This is really can be a game changer for many communities who otherwise would not be able to address some of these major infrastructure issues because of funding or also because of technical resources. So $200 million will be available, $50 million a year for the next 4 years. There will also be an avenue for some technical support for communities if they need it. So very excited about that. Look for more information on that coming out in the next couple of weeks. And with that, I would be happy to take any questions from the commission or from anybody else.
Just really happy to have you here in Garden City and help us celebrate all the many ribbon cuttings that we had today.
Yeah, it was very exciting.
Yes, thank you for coming today and going to 3 different ribbon cuttings for 3 very exciting projects in a very small amount of time.
Secretary Reed, for those that haven't been to a local consult meeting before, what might they expect if they show up?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the format is pretty general. We will have an opening session where we will provide some updates on how the program is doing, just a reset of how the IKE transportation program works. And then we will do breakout sessions where we will have a list of projects that have already been identified in either past local consult meetings or just things that have come up in the last couple of years. So we will have those breakout sessions. We'll get feedback from folks about priorities, understanding what the real problems are. We'll also have an opportunity for citizens or people to just provide new priorities or new problems or projects that we can help solve. So that will be the general format, and then we will take all of that back, compiled from all of the 8 different meetings, and we will develop a statewide program that we hope to deliver an announcement on later this year.
Will that have a similar scoring system to last time, the last IKE program?
Yes, the scoring system has only had minor tweaks, but yeah, it's essentially the same. Yep.
There's 6 of these in total, correct?
There's 8 in total.
8 in total?
There's 1 in each of our 6 regional districts, and then 1 in Kansas City and 1 in Wichita.
Oh, that's right, the
And
6
then
districts.
we will have 1 virtual option.
Okay. For those in the western half of the state, this is one of 2 that they'd be able to attend. So not only does Garden City need to show up, if you know people in Liberal or Dodge or Ulysses or Northwest Kansas that aren't able to make the Hayes, I think is where
Yeah.
theirs is, the Hayes local consult,
Right.
it's important that this is, I mean, it's important to get a good Garden City turnout. It always is, but we need to cheerlead for the rest of the western half of the state too.
And for those that can't make it, like I said, we will have a virtual option that we'll be sending information out. It will be a little more challenging because we'll be talking about statewide priorities instead of regional priorities, but it will still be good to hear everybody's voices.
Is that one set? Is that virtual meeting date set yet?
I do not have that off the
Okay.
top of my head, but yeah, we will have that information out. And we have information on our IKE website that details all of those. And as we get closer to those dates, we will have more information about each of those particular regional meetings.
Thank you.
Thanks again
Thank
for
you.
being here today. Yeah.
Have a good day.
Thanks.
Would anybody else like to come up for public comment?
This including property tax, that's 49.
We have a 1:30 hearing for the budget. Is that what you're referring to? Yes, we'll do that at 1:30. Yeah. Please state your name.
Kelly Geyer, and I'm with Live Albany County Community Health Coalition. And I'm here before you, Mayor and Commissioners, to let you all know that we were notified last week that we have been awarded the Drug-Free Communities Grant. So over the next 5 years, there will be $625,000 coming into our community for youth substance abuse.
Oh, congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments on anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, we do have that hearing at 1:30, but we could probably go through
Probably get
the...
one, 6A?
Yep.
That'd be all right? Mayor and Commissioners, item 6A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Angelica Castillo Chapel on behalf of the Community Mexican Fiesta Association to allow the mayor to proclaim the month of September 2023 as Hispanic Heritage Month in Garden City, Kansas.
Mayor, I move that we approve the proclamation as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and I believe I will be reading this at the event that is coming up, so.
Item 6B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Connie Bogart, Executive Director at Western Kansas Community Foundation, to allow the mayor to proclaim the week of September 8th through the 17th as Welcoming Week in Garden City, Kansas.
I move that we approve the proclamation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and I will read this here. Is there anybody who would like to come up and talk about? For Welcoming Week. Yes. Please state your name.
So my name is Bailey Sater, and I'm with the Western Kansas Foundation. So unfortunately, Connie was unable to make it today, so I was here on behalf of her to just let you know that Welcoming Week is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that leads the movement of the inclusive community to become a more prosperous country that everybody belongs. They have pioneered a national endeavor known as Welcoming Week, which is designed to stimulate dialogues and cultivate connections among immigrants, refugees, and U.S.-born citizens. This initiative allocates a dedicated period of time for communities to congregate by commemorating the attributes that establish an environment of hospitality and inclusivity for all residents. So I just ask this body to consider that proclamation.
All right, great. And I'll quickly read the proclamation, and are you wanting a picture? We have 3 minutes, so I'll read it. I'll read it as quickly as I can. So, whereas Garden City's success depends on making sure that all residents feel welcoming here. Today, new residents are a vital part of our community, bringing fresh perspectives and new ideas, starting businesses, and contributing to the vibrant diversity that we all value. And whereas during Welcoming Week, we honor the spirit of unity that is bringing neighbors together across the city. And whereas all residents of Garden City are invited to join the movement of communities nationwide by renewing our commitment to our core American values and by taking action in the spirit of welcoming. And whereas by working together, we can achieve greater prosperity and make our city a place where diverse people from around the world feel valued. And whereas regardless of where we are born or what we look like, we are all Garden City residents. Well, we're relatives probably too, but united in our efforts to build a stronger community, and we make our community more prosperous and more inclusive to all who call it home when we recognize the contributions we all make to create a vibrant culture and a growing economy. And whereas, let us come together to build communities where every resident has the opportunity to contribute at his or her best to create more prosperous communities and to reaffirm that Garden City still stands as a beacon of freedom and opportunity. Now therefore, I, Deborah Euler, Mayor of the City of Garden City, do hereby proclaim the week of September 8th through 17th as Welcoming Week in the city of Garden City, Kansas, and encourage all citizens to reach across the lines of differences and participate in making the region a more welcoming place for new and long-term residents. Signed and sealed this 5th day of September, 2023. Thank you. Now?
Yeah, quick picture.
Oh, yeah, we'll do it now.
Yeah.
All right, bring all the stands.
It's all
Thank you. Good, yeah. Make sure that Connie gets it.
All right. That's the place to be.
All right, time for the 1:30 public hearing. Mayor, you want us to jump forward to 10A?
Yes.
Bear with me.
Okay.
Not seeing it. There it is. All right. Mayor and Commissioners, item 10A, a 1:30 public hearing on the matter of the governing body hearing questions, concerns, and comments from of the public with regard to the levy of a property tax rate exceeding the revenue neutral rate and the approval of the 2024 budget. Following the public hearing, the governing body is asked to consider and approve to levy a property tax rate exceeding the revenue neutral rate. And if you do, that resolution would be 3038-2023. That vote is also required by statute to take in a roll call manner. So when you're at the point for a motion and a second and an action on a resolution, City Clerk Hurtado will read your names one by one, and you'll respond either yay or nay.
Okay. All right, I will open up the public hearing. And yes, now is the time if you'd like to speak. And please state your name when you do.
Matt.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Morton. We'll discuss property tax increase on my property. The new total proposed taxes on my property will be a 9% increase for 2022's property tax. My home evaluation increase has been an eye-popping $36,898 for 2023. The increase in valuations means there's a severe inflationary pressure occurring, as well as disaster for the average citizen of this town, when we go to the city and county when it comes to collecting taxes. But again, since the status match average income, quintile 2 and 3, middle class, my property tax in relation to middle class income has been steady about 8% per year for the past 17 years. The new 2023 proposed budget will be an out of line at 9.2% tax growth to median household income. This proposed budget will be a relative increase of $962.4, but the city has been charging for nearly 18 years for the same property. Yet average inflation rate per year in the U.S. for 2006 through 2020 has been 2.141%. The average property tax increase on my property has been 5.17% per year for the same time period. Total percent increase is 134% over 17 years. The question is, where's the additional money going above the inflation? For? Because currently between our school system and our crime rate, it is insanely, bad. 90% of students that graduate from Early High School are proficient in math compared to 20% average in Kansas. Our ACT score is 17.7, below Mississippi at 17.8 for 2022. For our crime rate, we're listed as 90% of U.S. cities are ranked safer than Garden City, Kansas. Garden City crime rate, according to citydata.com, was 337.8, while Dodge was lower at 231.4, and lower is better. A year ago, business leaders was found at the meeting on not being able to find decent workers, union skilled workers from the general population. This is from Governor's Telegram, October 15, 2022. So far, the service CT has provided results in this town being marginal and safe, anti-education, and anti-business. As proved the proposed budget increase, because the city has shown for years that we continue to provide self-help services, but we don't have a payment on the protest form for the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I'll close the public hearing.
Mayor, I gave you incorrect number for the resolution number. If you arrive at a decision to pass a resolution as described, it would be 3039-2023.
Any discussion?
comments?
Jared, is there anything you wanted to add or talk about?
No, nothing to add.
Mayor, then I'll make the motion that we approve Resolution 3039-2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Nope.
It has to be.
I'm sorry. Oh, that's right, I forgot, sorry.
It's okay.
I got way ahead of myself.
Okay, so I will go in alphabetical order. Commissioner Roy Cessna,
Aye.
Commissioner Shannon Dick,
Aye.
Commissioner Manny Ortiz,
Aye.
Commissioner Deb Euler, Mayor Deb Euler,
Aye.
Commissioner Troy Unruh.
Aye.
A 5-0 vote.
Okay, motion carries.
Mayor and Commissioners, would you wish to take up the item of the annual budget now, or would you wish to take it up later in the meeting?
We might as well take it up now.
That way
since
Jared
Jared's up
doesn't have
here.
to change
Right.
seats. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
12A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the authorization of the 2024 budget certificate, which has been prepared based on previous comments in previous meetings by the commission. It summarizes the maximum levy of property tax for specific funds and the maximum expenditure for all funds of the city's budget, including those that are tax-related and non-tax-related. Jared?
The certificate for the 2024 budget was prepared using the notice of hearing for the 2024 budget expenditures. Prior to approving the budget certificate, the governing body approved a resolution to exceed the revenue neutral rate. This allows the city to levy a property tax rate of 38.378 mils that will generate approximately $10,738,229. The alternatives before the governing body today are to approve and sign the certificate of budget as presented. You can approve and sign a certificate of budget that is different from what is presented. However, Kansas statutes prohibit the changes resulting in raising the city's total mill levy from what was published in the notice of public hearing, and the governing body may choose to not approve the certificate of budget. Staff recommends approving and signing the certificate of budget as presented.
Any questions?
No, I do want to make a comment. I know that the budget process is a long, arduous process for each and every part of the city, and I know that they work really hard to make sure those dollars are spent very judiciously and wisely, and so I want to say thank you just up front about all the work that's gone into the budget, and I know budget's never something it's easy to discuss, but it's something I think is very necessary, and so with that, I would offer a motion to approve and sign the certificate of budget as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. I think we're ready for item 6C.
Yes.
The mayor is asked, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Vicki Harshbarger on behalf of Mosaic to allow the mayor to proclaim the week of September 10th, 2023 as Direct Support Professionals Recognition Week.
Mayor, I make the motion that we approve the proclamation as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I don't see Vicki here. Is she? I don't.
Somebody
Is
representing
somebody from
Mosaic?
Mosaic here?
There was.
Oh, they left. Oh, okay.
We'll find a way to
Yeah,
present that.
I
with
will,
Vicki.
I can get a hold of Vicki and I can present that to them at a later date.
Item 6D, the governing body is asked to consider and allow the mayor to proclaim September 12th, 2023 as Diana Sanford Day in Garden City, Kansas.
I move that we approve the considering September 12th, 2023 as Diana Stanford Day in Garden City, Kansas.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And is she here? Okay, yep.
And a bunch.
Oh, there she is. I was wondering, I was like, usually you guys come out in full force. Yeah.
If you'd like to read
And I
that,
will
Mayor,
read
and
that,
then
yeah.
they'll gather at the
Well,
front.
yeah, it'll be like 3 o'clock by the time they, no, I'm just kidding. All right, yes, I will read that. Whereas Diana Sanford began working for the City of Garden City as a records clerk on September 12, 2005, and whereas Diana Sanford has served as a records clerk and senior records clerk and provided administrative support and guidance within the police department and in the community. Whereas Diana Sanford will retire from employment with the City of Garden City on September 12, 2023, after 18 years of service. And whereas Diana Sanford will be regarded as one of the hardest working, most dedicated, and most recognizable public servants in Garden City's history. Now therefore, I, Deborah Euler, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim September 12, 2023 as Diana Sanford Day in Garden City, Kansas, and urge all citizens to acknowledge and express their sincere appreciation and thanks for her service to this community and commend her for the manner in which she has carried out her responsibilities and duties for the City of Garden City. Signed and sealed this 5th day of September, 2023.
Picture with everyone?
All right, 1, 2, 3. All right.
Item 6E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Garden City Fire Department personnel to waive Code Section 62-15, unlawful solicitation, to allow for the department personnel to conduct donations for the Muscular Dystrophy Association Fill the Boot Drive on September 16th, 2023, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Mayor, I make the motion that we waive or approve the request from the Garden City Fire Department on their request.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 7A, the City of Garden City would like to recognize the Garden City Water Department staff for receiving the Kansas Section American Water Works Association 2023 Safety Award for a Kansas water utility with 10 to 100 employees. Congratulations, Fred. You want to?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, have them come in.
Commissioners, and it looks a little bit odd that I'm wearing a boot while we're talking about receiving the safety award.
The irony is not lost.
Yeah.
But thank you.
It's lost on our colleagues. This is a new award that Kansas AWWA has resurrected, but it's the American Water Works Association is the trade association for public water works internationally, and there are 17 sections in the United States. And so Kansas section is revitalized their safety program, and the award that the Garden City Water Department received is for water departments that are 10 to 100 employees is the category we're in. And it's based off of a multi-year analysis of our safety. It's the same safety items that we're looking at when we do our benchmarking survey, which we've been doing for the last few years. And so we've submitted that information, and we're proud to receive the award. The staff of the water department are wholly responsible for that happening, and we have a great staff, and they all have bought into the importance of safety in the workplace. I would mention the other winner from Kansas was Water One, which is a Johnson County water utility of about 150,000 meters.
Wow.
They're in a little bit larger category. So both of the utilities will be submitted for the Wendell Ladue Safety Award, which is a national, so we'll be competing against other states based off the activities we have here at Garden City for our safety program. But anyhow, appreciate it. We have a plaque. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Maybe get a
Yep.
picture with the governing body.
Of course. Yeah, we'd love it.
Congratulations.
See how many steps I started with.
choose. Yeah.
They're not going to choose, no.
Just have to.
Yeah. Then, yeah.
Item B, congratulations to Water Resource Manager Fred Jones on the occasion of his receiving the Kansas chapter of the American Water Works Association Richard Porter Service Award. And to tell you a little bit more about this is Mike. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. The Richard Porter Service Award was established in 2006 as a long memory member, Richard Porter. The award presented to Fred Jones is given to a section member who has demonstrated support and commitment to the Kansas section of the American Water Works Association. This award to Fred includes him being an active member in one or more committees, for participating in conferences and training seminars across the state. He demonstrates his demonstration of a friendly and welcoming attitude to new and current Kansas AWWA section members, and being an example of others of the section as a leader in providing service and support to others in the water industry. So with that, congratulations, Fred.
You're ready. As long as Fred holds the award.
Comes with a long list of warnings. Hold it at the base, you're
I don't want to disappoint anyone, but it's acrylic. So.
Congratulations.
I know.
All right, it's my pleasure
Cut you off here for just a sec, please.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I was late because I was fixing businesses so that way they could provide tax dollars for us. So I didn't make it in time for public comment. But basically, I just have to say that we're working ridiculous amounts of hours. I work 40 hours. My wife works 60 hours last week.
Can I interrupt you? No.
Talking,
Can you just state your name for the record? Thank you.
very much. So basically, we cannot have tax raises with the evaluations of our houses going up and someone owns that house, regardless if they're a renter or not. We cannot have taxes go up because we can't afford this. So we need your help. We cannot have taxes go up. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Mayor, item 7C, it's my pleasure to introduce Chris Talmadge, LJ Geist, and Aiden Miller of the Garden City Fire Department. They're going to provide a report of their recent wildland team deployment. Gentlemen?
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and City Commissioners. My name is Raymond Hestican. I'm here on behalf of LJ Geist and Chris Talmadge. They just got deployed again.
Oh, wow.
California.
Oh, wow.
I'm here
Okay.
to replace
What a difference.
them. I did not go to Alaska, but Aiden Miller did, so he will speak on that part, okay? So in September 2023, we have a memorandum of understanding with the Kansas State Forestry, and that allowed the Garden City Fire Department tons of resources and access for our fire department to get better at what we do as far as wildland firefighting. This actually allows us to roster a wildland team to go state and national. Okay, and so this allows us to see real-world fire all over the United States. Okay. And so with the Kansas Forestry, we are fully deployable. we've become completely qualified and trained to go to all of these areas and learn all the aspects, which helps us here in Phoenix County just be better at what we do and the people that we serve around here. As far as the module goes, they typically try and get 10 people, and this is a group made up of different entities throughout the state. So we could be working with different individuals, like in Alaska, they got to work with Olathe, correct? And state firefighters as well. And this is really good for us because we can partner with them and vice versa. So if for some reason Phoenix County sees something like that, these guys can come and help us as well. Very much like the Quarter Horse fire that we had previously. And so Aiden's going to tell us a little bit about why Alaska needed our help, and I'll have him describe that, okay?
We deployed to Alaska because they got put onto a preparedness level 5, is a PL5. Why Alaska got put onto a PL5 is Alaska deployed a lot of their resources to Canada to assist Canada with their wildfires. So Alaska started getting numerous lightning strikes causing startups and wildfires, and they, as I said, they got put onto a PL5, which means they needed more resources because all their resources were unavailable, and that's where the module came up and got deployed to Alaska.
Awesome. So as far as the module goes, there's different stages that we go through. We go through the incident command system, and what these guys get to see is an actual command system much larger than what we would see here in Phoenix County. It's very seldom that we use a large incident command system here, so all these guys get to see a big organization running this incident command. And this is all stuff that we can bring back here, and we can use this incident command structure on small house fires, car wrecks, and some of our larger fires here in Garden City, which is excellent for us. It's just constantly learning and getting better as far as our leadership goes, and all the way down to our youngest firefighters. Some of the other things that they got to do, they did some engine operations and structural protection. This is a very vast area of Alaska. There's lots of different trees and topography, but there was opportunity for them to do engine operations and protect some structures out there. Along with that, most of the work that was done is what we call hand line work. Okay, so this is really getting down to the nitty-gritty, working with their hands, using rakes and shovels and different hand tools like that. And I'll have Aiden jump in and tell you a little bit about what they actually saw, which is going to be very different than what we're going to see here in Kansas.
So in Alaska, working the hand line, we discovered that it's very different terrain, very different fuels as we have here in Western Kansas. We discovered that hand tools were our best priority to fighting wildfires in Alaska due to they have a duct layer that can be anywhere from 6 inches thick to 30 inches thick of moss and leaves. We learned a little bit about how the terrain in Alaska is going to affect wildfire and how the weather is going to cause different winds through the hills and in different areas. We did a lot of aviation work through helicopters. A lot of our fires were very rural, no access for like fire engines or trucks. So we had to be flown into a lot of the areas via helicopter. They would land at the closest available place that they could land to the fire. We would hike up all our equipment, tools, red bags, camping gear, hiked it up to the fire line, cut out an LZ closer to the fire so we didn't have to hike as far for more supplies when they were being dropped off. The helicopters could also drop buckets of water. The bucket we used was 420 gallons of water that the helicopters would use out of lakes, ponds, rivers to help us assist with fires. We used a lot of crew shuttling with the helicopters going back and forth different places. The helicopter was our main support out there. They don't have as many roads as we do to different areas. So it was kind of like personal taxis to us. The orange helicopter you see in the pictures was specifically assigned to the Kansas module while we were in Alaska. And I'll hand it back over to Ray.
So as far as the aviation goes, that's something that we're seeing more and more of. Yesterday, Deerfield had a fire in their southern region, and they used aviation operations to get that fire under control as well, just like we did in our Quarter Horse fire. So working with aviation is fairly new to us, but it's something that we're going to be utilizing here in the future, and we do now. So it's very important that our team gets used to working with an aviation crew, whether it's a helicopter or an airplane. Most likely, we're going to see an airplane out here. Okay, Aiden's going to jump into the timeline in Alaska here a little bit.
So on the screen, we have a little timeline of events. It all happened so quickly. So I believe it was on Thursday. We went on the mod. About 3 hours later, we got a phone call from our team lead saying, we're going to Alaska, we're leaving tomorrow. So we got our bags packed. We met at the fire station here the next morning. We all traveled to Wichita, met up with the rest of the Kansas mod from Olathe and Kansas Forest Service. We left Wichita early that Friday, I believe, and we flew to Alaska, got into Alaska about 11 o'clock at night, Alaska time. The next morning we woke up, we traveled to the area of Tok where we were stationed. We had a briefing with the lead in Tok. He kind of briefed us on what the training and fire behavior is going to be like up there, what to watch out for, keep our eyes out for. Every day we had different assignments, different fires that we were going to. Some of those assignments you could be patrolling 8.5 million acres of forest on the engines, or you could be assigned to Helitac doing Helitac operations as in flying to smokes and landing and going and sizing up the fire, initial size ups. At the end of the 14 days, we had a demo that's kind of breaking down what all you did, getting released from the incident and your travels home, and all the paperwork that goes with that.
So, was there light when you guys got there at 11?
Yes. There was about 22 hours of the day.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So not only are they working in elements that they've never been in before, they're working in, daylight almost the whole entire time. So a little bit different than what we see here in Kansas. Have you been that far before?
I have not been very far.
So this is the first time the two of them have ever been to Alaska before. So as far as the benefits for us, like I said, this is going to benefit our team, our community, in ways that we can't even imagine. Okay, this is just wonderful for us here in Garden City. It's great. All the relationships that these guys made and will continue making is so tremendous for our team and our community. We're just going to get better and better as we grow as a team and a department. We get to see all sorts of different fuels and fire behavior that we're not going to see here in Finney County, but they're going to bring it back and be able to work more efficiently here, which is the ultimate goal. Again, the aviation operations is huge for us. All the skill sets that they're bringing back, all these guys are able to promote now. Everything that they're doing, they're working on task books. And so each one of them is going to be able to fill things out and promote within the wildland realm of firefighting, which is tremendous for us as well. And really, it sets us apart. There's a lot of different fire departments on this list that they can choose from, and they chose us first, which is awesome.
That's
right?
impressive.
We were their number one choice, and I have a feeling we're going to be at that top every time they look at us every summer. Okay, and then it helps for recruitment. People want to be wildland firefighters; they really do. So these opportunities, people are going to look at us and be like, I want to go do that. I want to be a part of that. And that's what these guys are out doing. They're that much better. So hopefully we get more people in here and want to do some of this stuff. It's not easy. It's very hard. And Aiden's going to talk about a couple of these pictures and describe why it is that hard, but it's totally worth it.
So a lot of these pictures kind of experience the different terrains. You can see our camp. We had to be readily available to sustain ourselves in the wilderness for up to 72 hours at any given time. The picture in the top right, that is one of our camps on one of the fire lines. We were on that fire for 5 days. The picture in the middle up top, that's about how thick all the trees were up in Alaska, hiking up and down and around all those trees. You could be hiking 1 mile, but in theory you're hiking 2 by the time you zig and zag around all the trees. Picture on the top left, the reason it's so open is that is one of the landing zones we cut for a helicopter closer to the fire. We cut that landing zone, they hiked, it took them a little over 3 hours to hike half a mile to that landing zone. The picture on the bottom right, Helitack, that was the day I was on Helitack. Helitack requires you to have, on your lunch break, it requires you to have 15 to 30 minutes of rest to stay on top of your game. As that helicopter has the ability to fly anywhere in the Tok area that we covered. Like I said, was 8.5 million acres, and we covered that with 11 people from Kansas.
Wow.
Any questions?
So on the far left, so did you have a lot of flies, or was that mosquitoes, or what for the netting?
The mosquitoes up there were probably the worst I have ever seen.
Okay.
It was just like a fog of mosquitoes.
Wow. Thank you.
Well, yeah, you could tell that you weren't in Kansas when you did the pictures, which was really neat. But the thing I think is really all the benefits, and also that, I mean, just doing Kansas proud, that's really, it's like you said, being chosen, that's the number one honor, but then going and doing excellent work there, so we really appreciate it, so.
And I enjoyed the journey on social media. You guys did a great job bringing us along with you, and thank you for all of your work. I mean, that's hard work to go up there into a different place, but wow, what an experience.
It was an awesome experience.
Yes, thank you for presenting.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, guys. Good job.
Item 7D, Assistant City Manager Burke will provide an update on the second round of moderate income housing awards for 2023.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commission. I wanted to provide an update to you all. We obviously, as you can recall, had a couple applications for the MIH funding for the second round of 2023. And in early August, those awards were announced. And unfortunately, Garden City, neither of those two projects were selected for that second round of funding. And so we wanted to provide you all with an update of that. In the agenda, we included a list of all of the applications that got awarded, and then in the memo, we also kind of highlight the ones from the southwest portion of the state that did get awarded. So happy to answer any questions that you all may have related to that.
Can they use these same proposals and apply again when the new funding comes out? Okay, so they just have to update the dates? Okay.
Yep. So you'll likely see a couple of those requests, I would anticipate, when they open the next round of funding.
Do we know if any of the other larger communities, because I see the ones that were awarded for Southwest is like Kiowa County and Pratt and Clark. Do you know if Ford or Seward had any applications? Okay.
I don't think they did either.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Items 7F through H are monthly reports from city departments. Do you have any questions over those? If not, item, or section 8 is the meetings of note. We'll call attention once again to the October 4th local consult meeting that'll be at Clarion Inn from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's the Kansas Department of Transportation IKE program local consult meeting. Those are important input sessions for transportation investment in Southwest Kansas and throughout Kansas. So we would encourage everyone to attend, residents, businesses, different groups that rely on transportation. It's hard to imagine anybody that would be in Garden City that doesn't rely on, or in Southwest Kansas in general, that doesn't rely on transportation for some aspect of their life. So that's a good opportunity. It is a 3-hour event, so it is a time commitment, but I think it's an important time commitment for all of us. Item 9A is the appropriation ordinance. If approved, it would be ordinance number 2586-2023A.
I move that we approve appropriation ordinance number 2586-2023A.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We've done item 10A. I believe we're ready for item 10B. The governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance to annex real property located on Old Post Road. If approved, it would be ordinance number 2963-2023.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Back on February 21st of 2023, the governing body authorized the purchase of plus or minus 143.17 acres of real property that's located on Post Office Road. The property is adjacent to the Garden City Industrial Park located on Mansfield Road, and this property is contiguous to the current city limits boundary. On July 18th of 2023, the governing body directed staff to create an ordinance to consider annexing the city-owned property into the city of Garden City, and staff has prepared that annexation ordinance for your consideration today. So your alternatives would be that the governing body may approve the ordinance to annex the 143.17 acres of real property into the city boundaries. Or number 2, the governing body may choose not to approve the ordinance. Staff recommends the governing body approve the ordinance and annex 143.17 acres of real property into the city boundaries. And as a fiscal note, there's no financial impact for annexing the property into the city at this time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2963-2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Item C, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance rezoning from I-1 Light Industrial to C2 General Commercial, the property generally located at 105 North 12th Street. Sean.
Good afternoon. Medina Adventures is requesting to rezone the property generally located at 105 North 12th Street from I-1 Light Industrial District to C2 General Commercial District. The applicant would like to operate a nightclub at this property. This property was previously identified as a non-conforming nightclub, as nightclubs are not permitted within the I-1 Light Industrial District. The previous nightclub closed before 2020 and cannot maintain its non-conforming status. Section 21.070 and 21.080 of the zoning regulations goes over non-conforming uses and non-conforming statuses to continue down below. In December of 2020, a previous property owner requested a rezoning of the property to C2 General Commercial District. However, the Planning Commission did not recommend approval, and the applicant did not pursue consideration by the City Commission. Nightclubs are not a permitted use in the I-1 Light Industrial District, according to the Garden City zoning regulations. However, nightclubs are conditional use in the C2 General Commercial District. If the rezoning request is approved, the applicants will be required to obtain a conditional use permit for a nightclub. To be considered a nightclub, the establishment will need to meet at least one of the following down below. This project will be required to go through the site plan review process where parking requirements will be identified. The proposed land use is consistent with a comprehensive plan which identifies the area as commercial potential. The governing body may approve the request to the criteria down below in section 27.040. The Planning Commission did recommend approval at the August 17th, 2023 meeting. And there are 3 alternatives before you today. The governing body may adopt the Planning Commission's recommendation by approving the proposed ordinance. The governing body may override the Planning Commission's recommendation by a 2/3 majority vote, or the governing body may return the recommendation to the Planning Commission with a statement specifying the basis for the governing body's failure to approve or disapprove. And staff recommends the governing body to adopt the Planning Commission's recommendation by approving the proposed ordinance.
Any discussion, any questions?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2964-2023.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'd like to just kind of ask, I know going through the Planning Commission's comments, I saw their questions in there, but have the engineering department looked at the codes and backgrounds of what that, if it is a tavern or a restaurant or a bar, or I think even in the Planning Commission, they brought up a meeting or an event center. So those are different venues. So are you guys looking at those different?
Yeah, we're looking at, so to be considered a nightclub, you have to get a conditional use permit, but event centers are also a permitted use.
Okay.
So then basically, they're going to have to meet those agreements to maintain the conditional use permit, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
So you'll issue it, or you'll have all of those things in place? Okay,
Right.
before, okay.
Right.
We're just doing the zoning.
Yep, we're just doing zoning.
But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that zoning was with that right respect of that venue, so, okay.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, John.
Item D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an environmental nuisance resolution. If approved, it would be Resolution 3040-2023 and would remove nuisance conditions at 1610 Hattie.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Maxwell, Director of Neighborhood and Development Services. So before you today for consideration is 1610 Hattie Street in violation of our nuisance code. What we have are some scattered branches throughout the property. Staff has reached out to the owners via mail on June 30th, 2023 and July 14th, 2023 with no response and unable to reach those owners of the property or the residents there. The alternatives today are, number one, governing body may approve the attached resolution, which will allow staff to mitigate or abate the situation. And alternative number two, governing body may not approve the attached resolution. Staff's recommendation is approving the attached resolution, which is alternative number one. Fiscal note, any costs associated with the abatement will be assessed to the property. Any questions?
I'll make the motion to approve resolution number 3040-2023.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 10E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance amending code sections 45-475 and 78-15 to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Garden City. If approved, it would be ordinance number 2965 and would regulate the use of right-of-ways related to parklets.
Mayor and Commissioners, in 2021, the City of Garden City awarded Downtown Vision with a $50,000 grant for parklets. Since that award, Downtown Vision has been working with the Kansas Department of Transportation about requirements for parklets located on Main Street as it is designated state highway. In February of 2022, Downtown Vision selected Flat Mountain as the recipient of the parklet and began working on the design. At the June 20, 2023 pre-meeting, the governing body received an update on parklets and asked staff to develop a policy to allow for parklets downtown within the C3 Central Business District. Staff has worked with Downtown Vision and other city departments to create a policy that would encompass the governing body's desire to allow parklets downtown. The policy includes the following: a permit fee of $200, design standards, operated by a licensed food establishment licensed by the Kansas Department of Agriculture or licensed for an on-premise consumption of alcohol, liquor, or cereal malt beverage by the Kansas Department of Revenue. movability of the parklet, required barriers, location restrictions, and proximity to utility infrastructure, hours of operation, 6 a.m. to 12 a.m., insurance requirements. Each application will be required to be submitted to the Neighborhood and Development Services and be reviewed through an informal site plan review process. The parklet policy has a sunsetting date that will terminate the permit on December 31st, 2024. Your alternatives are the governing body may approve the ordinance as presented. The governing body may approve the ordinance with changes. The governing body may not approve the ordinance, or the governing body may provide an alternative direction. Staff recommends the governing body approve the ordinance as presented, and there are no fiscal costs associated with the ordinance.
So the sunsetting date terminating on the permit for December 31st, 2024, is that a reoccurring each year then? Should it not have a year-end date?
So we had the year-end date since it was like the pilot program. So as we go through this 1 year or a little bit over 1 year, we'll kind of evaluate the policy and see if there are any changes that we need, and anything significant we would bring back to you for a new recommendation.
I appreciate the comprehensiveness of the policy. I think it's really well written. I mean, it incorporated a lot of things that we had. The discussion seemed very rich, and this is a really unique opportunity to try something new. So in Garden City, I mean, the barriers are a bummer, but I understand. But but the parklet, the whole idea is really exciting. So,
And I know that the movability of them are something that we're asking for as well. Can you go through that? Asking an owner of one of those parklets on the movability of that process?
So they're not allowed to be anchored into like curb and gutter. So if it's something that we plan for them to move, we'll give them like a 2-week notice to have that removed. If it's an emergency, we'll try to contact them. And then if we have to remove it as the city, we'll do that, and then the cost will be associated to the owner of the parklet.
And what are some of those occurrences that would need to have those
That would be
removed?
anything with snow removal or anything with utilities that they need to get in, they can't get the truck in, we would ask them to move the parklet.
How about events with Downtown Vision? Does that conflict with any of their?
I don't know that I'll ask.
She is here. You'd like,
Do you think the parklet will be in the way of anything?
I think we'll enhance events.
Janet, if you would come forward.
Yeah.
She said a word, now she has to say her name.
Yeah.
I'm Janet Burr with Downtown Vision, and I'm very supportive of the parklets. I think if it does anything for our events, it's going to enhance our events. And so we're really hoping for approval so we can get some placement on it.
And you're looking to try to get this by Fall Fest installed at this first one?
Yes.
If everything works
We're on a
possibly.
really tight time. They're waiting on this decision before we can move forward. So, yes, we're hoping it's in place and usable
Yeah.
on Fall Fest.
I don't want-
That would be a good launch date.
Yeah, I don't want to delay the process anymore. I just kind of want to get the information out there for people who have questions and have not kind of read through the packet. But yeah, I think it would enhance. I'm just kind of curious, and probably other residents would be curious on if they're watching a parade during the Christmas parade, is that going to be in the way, or is that going to impose any viewing from spectator standpoints? These questions are going to get brought up, but I know I think it's going to be a great add to downtown. So, but
Well, I guess a related question then, when we're talking about events, like we'll just say Fall Fest, it gets up in Fall Fest, will that be operated as part of Flat Mountain for the Fall Fest event? So, I mean, it's outdoor space for restaurant.
Extension of their restaurant.
Right. So, yeah, you need to stop by Flat Mountain so you get a really good spot for the Christmas parade.
Get there early.
Right. I'm just trying to watch my calories.
Well, they have some light options, I think.
Is there any other discussion?
No.
Okay.
I move that we approve the ordinance as presented.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Anything else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
We look forward to it.
think we're ready for 12B. The governing body is asked to consider and approve a request for the annexation of the west portion of Jenny Barker Road, north of K-156, into the city of Garden City. Danielle.
All right, good afternoon again, Mayor and Commissioners. In November of 2022, the Commission received and approved an annexation request for the property located just to the east of the item before you today. And that annexation included the east portion of Jenny Barker Road adjacent to the property. However, the west portion of Jenny Barker Road was not included and remains in unincorporated Fannin County. On August 21st, 2023, the County Commission and the Board of County Commissioners voted 3-2 to request the city to annex the west portion of Jenny Barker Road adjacent to the previously annexed property. There were 2 county commissioners who voted against it and were concerned with kind of the truck traffic related to this property and no longer being able to use that north portion of Jenny Barker Road. Jenny Barker Road currently is not a designated truck route within the city of Garden City and is not signed as such. However, if a commercial vehicle is making a delivery, then they may leave the marked truck route at the nearest point of their destination to make those deliveries and then come back to the designated truck route as quickly as they are able to. Should you all approve and support the annexation request, the action would be for you to direct staff to create the necessary ordinance and bring that back to you all for consideration at a future meeting. Alternatives before you are, like I said, to direct staff to go take a look at that ordinance, bring it back to you all for consideration, or you may not approve that request. Staff recommends the governing body approve or direct staff to create that necessary ordinance and bringing that back to you all for future consideration. There is no fiscal impact related to this item, but we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the
comment.
There's a public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Please come up to the microphone and state your name. I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Jason Horton. I am the owner of Vision Ag LLC, which also includes Zeke and Lizzie LLC, which is a transportation company running commercial trucks. We own the property at 4555 North Jenny Barker Road, which is zoned as commercial, has been for many, many years, has been a truck terminal for many years. We purchased this property a couple of years ago, and as we grow our business for refrigerated transportation, which, as we know, Garden City, Southwest Kansas, is expanding greatly in the food production industry, and I believe this is an industry that Garden City needs. We employ over 20 employees. We have a full-service repair shop. We have a full-service transportation. We have office staff. And we run up and down Jenny Barker Road, and to my knowledge, the reason it is not considered a truck route at this point is because this is a county road. The county does not have access or jurisdiction by the city truck route. So this becoming a non-commercial truck route would in fact hurt my business, my employee. We run over 30 trucks out of there now across the country. We have employees that live all the way from Colorado to Wisconsin to Ohio that work for us, that provide local tax dollars and provide local businesses. They shop here a lot too when they're here on their downtime. We approximately stay in hotels. Some of our drivers stay in hotels approximately 3 to 5 nights a month while their trucks are being worked on, things like that. We provide a pretty significant amount of revenue in this area. We do over $7 million worth of business throughout that location alone. And we would see a great impact by that not being a truck route for commercial trucks. We run, our equipment averages for tractor trailer averages about $350,000 a piece in cost. We pay federal highway use tax per unit of $550. We pay over $1 million. Our company alone pays over $1 million worth of state fuel taxes every year. And this would really impact our availability to get to our facility, our customers that use our repair facilities, it would impact them. That would remove all of our access to Highway 156. The only paved access that we would have if we were restricted to this would be to go to 6 Mile Road and go back to Highway 83, back to the bypass. My personal residence is out on 156, about 8 miles east of town. So that would increase it would increase my travel when I have a commercial vehicle at my home to our yard by 17 miles per trip to go around. So there's quite a bit of a cost impact on us. And so I just would like clarification, an exemption, or something from this board to not impact. I know I'm not directly where I am located, directly a part of the annex, but it is only a mile from my property.
I think Danielle can get up. We thought we've explained this at the county commission, and I think she gave an explanation today, but so it's specific to this gentleman's instance, because sometimes when you hear something generally described, you can't put yourself into the exact way it applies. So the way I understand Danielle's description would be that since that's an origin and destination location, that's the closest route on a city road, much like an industrial or commercial property that would be inside the city limits and not on a highway, still has truck traffic to and from it. You're able to use this route to get to, in the instance he described, K156, which is the closest designated truck route to his location.
Yeah, and I think we could do a little bit of cleanup too when we bring that ordinance back to you all for consideration. I think Mr. Horton's right that when the county, everything is, this is a very generalized statement, but in the county, everything is a truck route unless expressly prohibited. Versus in the city, it is the exact opposite. So it's not a truck route unless we designate it and sign it as a specific truck route. There are some of those kind of gray areas for deliveries and things like that. The other thing that we could do to kind of clean this up is go through the process of designating it a truck route and taking a look at what that would look like as well, just to kind of clean this up, because obviously we don't want to have a negative impact. So we appreciate him coming in and kind of expressing this, and we want to make sure that we get that cleaned up. The action today is just to direct us to put together that ordinance, so we have a little bit of time just to bring something back for you all, just to kind of clean that up and make sure that we understand the exact needs that he's looking for, and bring that back to you all for consideration.
So what is a truck route then? I mean, in my mind, and you can correct me when I'm wrong, the point of a truck route is if you're going from point A to point B, in like a city, there's a truck route because we're not making a delivery, we're not starting business, we're not ending business, and we're traveling through here. We're like you said, like people that are doing deliveries to Walmart, and they're not on a truck route, but they can go on the roads as long as they're going for business. They're not.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. What we're trying to really get at is avoiding trucks cutting through, particularly streets that are not built for truck traffic.
Right.
So the idea is we kind of build up these designated truck routes so that we can push all of the truck traffic in those designated corridors that are set up for it. We make sure that limbs aren't going to impede the trucks and that sort of thing, versus we don't want trucks on residential roads and things like that because it's not built for that, it's not safe. So the designated truck routes are what we want for people to move through our community. But yes, if there are deliveries, they have to take the most direct path to make that delivery, but they're still able to do that.
Okay.
So currently, because of that, he would be able to still use the route until we figure out how we can make it a.
Yes, I don't think it's crystal clear in state statute or things like that. I think there are things we can do to clean that up, because I do think it's a gray area. But I think that's something that we can do before we bring back an ordinance for people to ultimately.
And the intention is definitely not to make the people along Jenny Parker Road travel 17 and a half additional miles to go home or to have to reroute their commercial operation. It's, the way city code's written versus county regulations is to prevent bypasses to bypasses to place that kind of, the nature of that traffic. I think this is what Commissioner Dick was explaining, the nature of that traffic on roads that weren't built for that traffic, next to uses that weren't designed to accommodate those uses. Nevertheless, there are trucks that deliver, concrete trucks is an example that's come up before this board before, is there's been trucks that have stayed outside of the truck routes within Garden City, kind of taking the path that the crow would fly, so to speak, versus staying on truck routes. They need to stay on truck routes until they get to kind of the closest proximity to wherever they're delivering concrete. Might be in the middle of a residential area. But cutting through other residential areas to get to that is outside of what the roads that they're using are designed for. So that's a case where that wouldn't be allowed. But to get from either their plant to the truck route or from the truck route to their destination, if they've got to take a road that's off of the truck route, that's understandable and permissible by city code.
And then I would think as businesses grow, that there is a reason to, I mean, as you expand out, at some point it's beneficial to declare it a truck route anyway, so make sure we have all the proper road infrastructure built out right, and everything, I'd assume.
Well, thank you for your successful business. I had no idea, and I mean, that's very impressive. Thank you for locating here in Garden City and all of the dollars that you're generating here. That's amazing. So.
And thank you for coming here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sarah, motion?
What are,
No.
I just kind of had one thought. What are the differences, other than the truck route, with maintenance to a road versus county versus city? Is that still going to get cleaned up for snow removal from the county, or does that, we maintain that now if it's going to get annexed in from the city point? Okay.
Yep, we would take over that
Okay.
infrastructure and snow removal, all of that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. Need a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and just consider approval of a waiver. Wait, are we on the?
No.
Yes. C, right?
B.
B. I got it marked already. To consider and approve a request for annexation of the west portion of Jenny Barker Road north of K-156 into the city of Garden City, Kansas.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a waiver of the Code of Ordinances, Section 78-4B, regarding awnings at 615 North Main Street, Unit B.
Mayor and Commissioners, Robert Rupp of R. Rupp Properties LLC is requesting a waiver of Section 78-4B of the Code of Ordinances to install an awning at 615 North Main Street, Unit B, also known as Colleen's Trophies, Awards, and Gifts. Section 78-4B states that it is unlawful except as hereinafter provided for any person to erect, construct, install, place, or allow to remain or to permit the erection, construction, installation, placing, maintenance, or remaining of any encroachment upon or above the right-of-way or any portion thereof of the following designated streets or portion of streets: Main Street from Maple Street to Fulton Street, Fulton Street from Main Street to First Street, Kansas Avenue from 3rd Street to Center Street, Jones Avenue from Taylor Street to the west city limit. Main Street currently has multiple properties with awnings and businesses that have replaced their awnings over the years. However, currently 615 North Main Street, Unit B, does not have an awning. While the zoning regulations do not cover awnings within C3 Central Business District, staff is supportive of bringing forth an amendment to the zoning regulations and the Code of Ordinances in the future to address awnings. If the waiver is approved, the applicant will need to submit a building permit application with engineering stamp drawings that meet the adopted building code requirements. Your alternatives are: the governing body may approve the waiver request, the governing body may not approve the waiver request, or the governing body may provide an alternative direction. And staff would recommend the governing body approve the waiver request and direct staff to bring forth an amendment. And then there's no fiscal note for this. And then applicants are here, should you have any questions for them or us.
Any questions?
I move that you approve the waiver request.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the distribution of additional round of $250,000 of Alcohol Fund Advisory Committee funds as recommended by the Livewell Finney County Board. Danielle.
All right, good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. The item before you is that additional round of AFAC funding that we were before you all requesting to go through. So as a reminder, these dollars are articulated in state statute in terms of how those can be allocated. A third of those dollars go into the general fund, a third go into special parks and recreation, and then a third into the special alcohol and drug program. And those are the dollars that we're talking about here this afternoon. With few treatment and prevention facilities and agencies in Garden City, past awards have really largely been made to agencies that have provided an expanded definition of prevention based on the accepted categories of prevention strategies. This added flexibility aims to keep those funds local. So the city went through a grant application process earlier this year and awarded just shy of $70,000 between kind of those two processes that we go through. But there was $100,000 allocated, which left about $30,000 in this year's budget. However, still is significant fund balance in that fund, and so on June 20th, we came before you and the commission authorized an additional kind of one-time round of funding this year in the amount of $250,000 to help support two initiatives. So one being related to kind of child care and a couple of those goals that show up in the city commission's goals this year, as well as the mental health co-responder program, which we've been talking about for the last couple of years as well. The proposals still needed to identify the connection between that program and prevention, intervention, education, or treatment. But the goal was that this concerted effort to really focus on these kind of core areas would allow for some one-time funding opportunities to exist in the community. So in total, we received 5 applications for $398,400, all of which are included in the packet. And the Livewell Finney County Board reviewed those and made the following funding recommendations. So they recommended funding Compass Behavioral Health at $81,500 and Little Leaders of GCK at $168,500, getting to that $250,000 total. It should be noted that only one of the agencies that submitted in this round of funding were actually submitted and awarded funding in the previous cycle for 2023, and that was Real Men, Real Leaders. So the alternatives before you this afternoon are to approve the recommendations as brought forth by the Finney County, or the Livewell Finney County Board. You all can also modify those recommendations or send it back to staff for additional action. Staff recommends the governing body approve the recommendation based on Livewell Finney County Board's recommendation. The fiscal note related to this, if approved, the City of Garden City would extend that $250,000 from the AFAC fund for the purpose of funding this additional round of applicants. After these expenditures, there will be approximately $237,000 still remaining in that fund. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Callie Dyer has also joined us here this afternoon. If you have questions about some of the conversations that the Livewell Finney County Board had, I know she'd be happy to answer those questions as well.
Anybody have any questions?
Maybe could Callie kind of explain or briefly discuss why they're recommending we vote on these, the recommendation for the amounts and why we approve this right quick?
Sure. As Danielle stated, there were 5 applications, and she stated how they were, like, their scope, right? And so Lidwell's board went within that scope. And then two of the recommendations fit within that scope. And the funding amounts were what they asked for. And so that's how they went. Like the black and white piece of it is that Compass application fit through all of the requirements. Little Leaguers fit all of those requirements, all of it. Like obviously, like Little Leaguers was daycare, and then it fit. Their application had some prevention measures in their application. So check, if you will. And then Compass was for the co-responder, check. And then it had prevention measures outlined in their application, check. So that's the reason why those two applications moved up and then there were, so saying that the other three did not fit all of the requirements within those parameters.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I think when I was reading through them, both applications that you recommended did mention or talk about what happens next year and how they will fund those particular areas if they decide to go on with them or.
The application in itself does not ask that.
Right, okay.
And if the application does ask for, your city does ask for a report.
Right, right, okay, gotcha.
How the funds were used.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought all applications were well-written, but they're, I mean, these are, there are just decisions with grant dollars, so.
I'll make the motion to approve the recommendation to award 2 applicants as recommended by Live Well Fannin County Board.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 12E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an infrastructure improvement agreement and consent to annexation for Country Acres Addition Phase 1.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. On September 7th, 2021, the governing body directed staff to engage professional engineering consultants to provide recommendations for infrastructure improvements necessary to extend water service to the Country Acres subdivision. After consultation with PEC, staff updated the governing body at the December 7th, 2021 meeting, and the governing body approved the request to connect city water infrastructure. The agreement before the governing body today outlines the scope of work for the project. The city will provide metered services to customers within the subdivision, and the water rate for customers in this subdivision, since it's outside the city limits, will be 2 times the city rate. If approved, the city will pay the developer $185,240.75 as a cost share to oversize the portion of the water main to be installed from the current boundary of the city water system, which is located at 4500 East Mary Street, then east to Farmland Road, and then south along Farmland Road to the entrance of the subdivision. Patriot Land Development LLC requested the extension of the city water supply to a subdivision outside the corporate limits of the city of Garden City. Country Acres subdivision is a 109.11 acre tract, and it's situated southeast of the Mary Street and Farmland Road intersection in the northwest quarter of section 11, tract 24, range 32. The development will consist primarily of 1 acre lots. The estimated impact of the city water supply to provide water service to this development is estimated at 11.6 million gallons per year. I would also point out on the map, you see there's an outlined area. That's phase 1 of the development. However, since this development is anticipated to be in multiple phases, the area annexation agreement or consent to annexation includes the entire development. So that explains the 2 boundaries that you see on the map. Alternatives, the governing body may approve the infrastructure improvement agreement and consent to annexation for Country Acres Addition Phase 1. The governing body may not approve the infrastructure improvement agreement and consent to annexation for Country Acres Addition Phase 1. or the governing body may direct staff to modify the infrastructure improvement agreement and consent to annexation for Country Acres Addition Phase 1 for consideration at a future meeting. Staff recommends the governing body approve the infrastructure improvement agreement and consent to annexation for Country Acres Phase 1. In terms of fiscal note, funding for the city share to oversize the water main as described in the background of this agenda item will be funded using the cash balance in the water utility fund. The estimated 2024 cash forward balance is $6,073,701. If approved, the cash forward balance will be reduced by $185,240.75.
So I had a question. So will this fund be reimbursed by the collection of the water fees in this section? Or will it just go into the city's general budget, or how will that work?
The reimbursement is, our portion of the project cost is to the developer, basically to install infrastructure more appropriate for future growth. Once inside the development envelope that you see there on the map, that will be their standard plan, which is 8-inch water mains in there. That development will not be part of the city sewer utility. It will have separate septic connections for sewer.
Any other questions? I move to approve the infrastructure improvement agreement and consent to annexation for Country Acres Addition Phase 1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks.
Item 12F, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the C-CLIP GI application for K156, a section of this road, also known as Kansas Avenue, from 3rd to 4th Street East to Belmont Place. And it's an agreement with the Kansas Department of Transportation in the amount of $414,000. Mike?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. The Kansas Department of Transportation, KDOT, received bids for the C-CLIP, which is City Connecting Link Improvement Program. For this, what Matt references the GI 156 3rd and 4th Street East to Belmont project. They awarded that on August 23rd, 2023. They plan to award the bid to Smoky Hill LLC in the amount of $1,413,205. KDOT will be providing $1 million towards the project. That's their maximum that they'll pay towards the project. The City of Garden City is responsible for the remainder, which is $413,205, which in KDOT's contract, they rounded up to $414,000, which is required by the matching funds to maximize KDOT funds pledged to the city, has to be remitted to the Chief of Fiscal Services of KDOT on or before October 12th of 2023. For the use of KDOT making payments for construction work and engineering of the above design project, with the final cost being determined upon completion and audit of the report, which typically there may be some change orders, maybe not. If approved today, this agreement certifies that no known or foreseeable legal impediments exist that would prohibit the project completion, and that the project complies with all applicable codes, standards, and regulations required for completion. So the alternatives are the governing body may authorize the mayor to sign the agreement, pledging the matching amount funds of $414,000 towards the C-CLIP GI K156 3rd 4th Street East to Belmont Place project. Or the second one is the governing body may not authorize the mayor to sign the agreement, therefore it wouldn't be effective. Staff recommends alternative 1, that the governing body authorize the mayor to sign this agreement, pledging the matching funds of $414,000 towards the project. Funding for this project will come from a GO bond proceeds that will be issued in the fall of 2023. The payment to KDOT due in October will be paid from Special Traffic Way Fund and will be reimbursed upon closing of the GO bond issuance. I'm happy to answer any questions on that.
So if this is approved, what is the timeline, Mike, that they would be using to complete this work?
If approved, they would probably start construction in the fall. probably in the spring more realistically, and it's just, I think it's like a 4-month window to get that project done. So it'll be another disruption, but this is a last little section of
That's it.
Kansas Avenue
Right.
that needs to be widened, and then do some of the drainage in there, so.
Right.
I make a motion that we approve the C-CLIP GI K156 3rd through 4th Street to Belmont project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks.
The next item, person's requested I phone them in, so bear with me.
Hi, you've reached 1-3.
Okay, we'll go on without that. Item G, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a $25,000 funding request from the Kansas Health Science Center. Danielle.
All right, good afternoon again, Mayor and Commissioners. In March of this year, Molly Fox with the Kansas Health Science Center presented plans to establish a Southwest Kansas medical education hub here in Garden City at a city commission pre-meeting. Then a couple months later, we had students participating in the Kansas Rural Medicine Summer Program, Visit Garden City. And in both of those, we've had a lot of conversations about partnership opportunities. In an effort to move forward the medical education hub, the Kansas Health Science Center applied for and received a $575,620 grant through the Patterson Family Foundation. That grant requires 100% match, and they have requested $25,000 from the city of Garden City to help in that endeavor. They're obviously reaching out to a number of other agencies and partners to come up with the full amount, but they have requested that the city of Garden City participate in it as well. So the alternatives before you are to approve the funding request of $25,000 for the Kansas Health Science Center. You may not approve that request, or you may provide staff with alternative direction. Staff would recommend that the governing body approve the funding request. And if approved, it would overspend the social funding line in the general fund and would use fund balance. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have. And I apologize, we're trying to get Molly.
We have her now.
Oh, fantastic. Molly on the line, and she is also available to answer any questions that you all may have related to that grant request.
Molly, I realize it might not be ideal listening for you, but we can hear you very good. If you would like to say any words, Danielle's presented the item already, read kind of the background from our agenda item that you've probably read. Do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I would just say that we've been really grateful for the ongoing partnership that's been developed over the last year or so, and it's been quite, I tell people that Garden City is unlike any other community that we all talk about working together, and Garden City does it. So we had several kids come out, and I say kids, but they're young adults, and spend a week in the community and really loved it. So we look forward to moving the initiative forward and really, have more options for great health care right there in the community, including bringing more doctors to the area.
Thanks, Molly. And yeah, they're a year away from providing medical services to us, so let's not call them kids. Any questions for Molly? If you give them, I'll do my best to repeat them just so that she gets them.
I was curious where the medical education hub is going to be located. Have they secured a location, or are they going to be partnering with a community college? Or I was just...
Molly, the question was, have you secured a physical presence while you're here in Garden City? Will there be a physical location that would be known as the Southwest Kansas Medical Education hub?
So at this point, it's not intended to be a physical structure, but rather a programmatic opportunity to build on already existing partnerships. So we are working with St. Catherine's, of course, and have been working closely with Garden City Community College, along with others, but also with Newman University, who's a partner of ours for what we call a 3+4 program, allowing our students or their students to move through their first 3 years of undergraduate with Newman University and then attend our school as their first year of medical school. And upon completion of their first year of medical school, they would automatically earn their bachelor's degree from Newman University. So continued conversations with those partners in terms of helping students move through a streamlined process to get them into practice quickly and to really be able to educate in place. But as far as the physical location goes, we will rely on partners for those places that we need to gather.
Commissioner, did that answer?
No,
your
thank you.
question?
Yeah, I
Molly.
wasn't sure when I was reading through if it was a physical location or if it was something. So no, that's
Okay.
awesome. And I like the partnerships.
Other questions for Molly?
Any comments?
I think it's a good program and something that I think is needed for Garden City.
Yep, I agree. I think it's definitely something that is needed. We certainly do need more medical professionals here, so anything we can do to encourage them to finish school and then come here would be fantastic.
That would be awesome, yeah.
So,
Not for Molly, but for the budget side, because we're overspending that, we'll just go back and revise the budget to offset that. Okay. That was my only other question.
any other questions?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the funding request for $25,000 for the Kansas Health Science Center.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Hey, Molly, thanks
Thank you,
for
Molly.
joining us. The item was approved.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate all the work you guys do, so keep up the great work.
And thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Item H, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an appointment to the Public Safety Advisory Board.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. What you have before you is a request to consider and approve an appointment to the Public Safety Advisory Board. The Public Safety Advisory Board has 3 vacant positions representing the Asian American, the religious community, and Garden City High School student communities. Garden City resident Father Cameron Randall has submitted an application to be considered for the religious board position, which was vacated by Father Tom Kirshen in July of 2023. Father Randall's term would expire in December of 2025. Alternatives, the governing body may approve appointing Father Cameron Randall to fill the vacant religious position with the term expiring in December of 2025, or the governing body may not approve appointing Father Cameron Randall and recommend that the board continue recruiting members. The Public Safety Advisory Board and staff recommends approval of appointing Father Cameron Randall to the vacant religious position with his term expiring in December of 2025, and Father Randall's here. If you guys have any questions for him.
Any questions?
Well, his application was awesome. I never realized, and what talent you're going to be bringing to this board. So I would move that we appoint Father Cameron Randall to the vacant religious position with term expiring December 2025.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item I, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the appointment of Tanya Ibarra to the City of Garden City Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
The City of Garden City Commission is responsible for the appointment of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board members. The City of Garden City Parks and Recreation Advisory Board has 7 members. 5 seats are currently filled, leaving 2 open seats. Advisory board members are appointed to a 3-year term that typically begins in January and concludes in December unless the board member is fulfilling a vacated term. The chart below shows you the board members and their terms. Tanya Ibarra submitted a complete application to be considered for appointment to the City of Garden City Parks and Recreation Advisory Board Her application was presented and reviewed at the August 28th Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting. Ms. Ibarra is a lifelong resident of Garden City and is employed by the City of Garden City as a court clerk. She has served on the Little Leaders of GCK Early Learning Center Board for over 8 years. Ms. Ibarra states on her application that she wants to continue being active in the community and assist with future development. The City of Garden City Parks and Recreation Advisory Board recommends the appointment of Tanya Ibarra to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Because there are 2 vacant seats on the board, it is recommended that Ms. Ibarra be appointed in September 2023 to complete the vacant board member term that concludes in December 2023, and also appointed to a 3-year term that begins January 2024 and expires December 2027. Your alternatives are the governing body may appoint Tanya Ibarra to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. The governing body may deny appointment of Tanya Ibarra to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, or the governing body may provide staff with further direction. The recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board is to appoint Tanya Ibarra to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and there are no fiscal notes.
Any questions?
I'll make the motion to appoint Tanya Ibarra to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
We went a little bit out of order. Have we taken care of all the business items other than consent agenda by your record? Okay, thanks. I don't have everything scratched off, and I'm just a little worried. Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. If approved, if you don't want to pull anything off and discuss it separately, the correct motion would be to approve items J1 through 4.
Madam Mayor, could we pull up item 2? I just would like some clarification on it. I think it's an important item, but I would like to have a little bit more clarification. I think also just highlighting it. I think it's a unique opportunity.
We can pull that off.
Then the correct motion would be items J1, 3, and 4.
Okay. All right, I make a motion to approve consent agenda items J1, 3, and 4.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item J2, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an engineering contract with Wilson & Company for the multi-jurisdictional Safe Streets and Roads for All, otherwise known as SS4A, project for $1,690,000. Mike?
Mayor and Commissioners, in September of 2022, the city applied to the U.S. Department of Transportation Safe Streets for All program, SS4A. This is how it's referred to. The city of Garden City was awarded $1,360,000 for the SS4A action program. And then on July 6th of 2023, the governing body approved grant funding agreement with the Kansas Department of Transportation for $340,000. Combined, this $1,690,000 covers the engineering fees associated with the project, description and project location, develop a comprehensive multi-jurisdictional Safe Streets for All action plan, incorporating data collection, analysis, road safety audits, stakeholder engagement, and strategic project selections, the address to select the safety of those places. The jurisdictions include the city of Garden City, Kansas, Finney County, Kansas, the city of Holcomb, Kansas, Seward County, Kansas, the city of Liberal, Kansas, Haskell County, Kansas, Scott County, Kansas, the city of Scott City, Kansas, Logan County, Kansas, the city of Oakland, Kansas, Decatur County, Kansas, and the city of Oberlin, Kansas. I could have just said they were all in Kansas.
Yeah.
On July 18th of 2023, the governing body approved Wilson & Company to manage and perform the professional services required by the project, and if approved today by the governing body, Wilson & Company will begin the engineering services within 5 days of receiving written notice to proceed on this project. So the alternatives, the governing body may approve the engineering contract with Wilson & Company for $1,690,000 and authorize the mayor to sign that contract, or the governing body may choose not to award the contract. Staff recommends the governing body approve the engineering contract with Wilson and Company for $1,690,000 and authorize the mayor to sign that contract. On the fiscal note, the city will have an obligation to pay Wilson and Company their pay requests, which may be paid directly by the Federal Highway Administration and the Kansas Department of Transportation. Alternatively, the city will pay and seek reimbursement from the Federal Highway Administration and KDOT. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on that.
So my questions were, so is the end result some type of a report that will help us highlight, you know, all of these jurisdictions that how we can benefit one with another? So I guess what's the outcome of this? Because I think this is a really unique opportunity in seeing the jurisdictions listed like they are. I mean, I'm just curious about what the outcome is, and I have a follow-up question too.
The Safe Streets for All cover the entire Highway 83 corridor from Oklahoma to Nebraska. And the cities that's listed in between, like Sweet or Garden City, there are certain areas that they're going to look at when they come through that these are areas that need to be upgraded to make the streets safe. There's a few of those were identified in the contract for Garden City. Each community along the way, Wilson and Company will have correspondence with them and decide if there's extra areas that they want looked at or not as they go through this whole corridor study. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it falls short of. It's not a re-engineer, or it's not engineering plans for a new US 83, but it's the prerequisite study that is going to be required of jurisdictions, or more likely regions, going after federal dollars through the federal money that's been made available. And so this prerequisite study, as Mike's described, will identify in each jurisdiction based on data capture and doing some analysis, but also through these stakeholder engagement meetings of where are the areas where you see there being points of conflict between different types of transportation. So in the communities, more likely than the open road areas, you'll hear maybe stories of foot traffic or bicycles where it's tough for them to interact or cross the particular highway from here to there, or there's this pedestrian origin or pedestrian destination route, and maybe it's to and from a school over here, and there's a high traffic roadway here, and that might identify itself through stakeholder stories, even if that doesn't necessarily show itself in injury accident reports or those types of things. It'll be kind of car-on-car accidents or those types of things too, but also really looking at transportation through every definition of transportation and not singularly through road traffic.
So my other question is so will this report, will be presented to KDOT and saying, here's some recommendations that they can use to inform, hopefully someday, a US 83, but will this also be accepted by KDOT?
Yes.
And then so when we pay this, will it be, so then we'll be responsible for paying Wilson and Company, and then the turnaround either comes from either one of those, or will you bill both and they'll pay their share? How does that reimbursement work?
The Federal Highway Administration will pay the $1 million, whatever it was, $1.3 million. KDOT agreed, as the secretary talked about earlier today, using their money as match money.
Okay.
That's what that's for. So ultimately, at the end of the day, the city of Garden City won't be out any money whatsoever.
Right, yeah.
We'll be reimbursed by those. And like Matt said, it's a prerequisite to get federal dollars to make the improvements that they're going to recommend.
Well, I appreciate you taking the lead.
You can't get federal dollars.
So that's a lot of leadership, so thank you for doing this.
Answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I move that we approve approve the engineering contract with Wilson and Company for the multi-jurisdictional Safe Streets and Roads for All SS4A project for $1,690,000.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mike.
That wraps up all the business items.
Okay, next, long meeting. Next up is Commissioner reports and Commissioner Dick.
Is this your fourth time?
I was going to say for the fourth time in a row.
Third time.
Third? Oh, okay. I was trying to keep count.
But I'm going to.
Who's counting?
Previously, I'm going to apologize in advance because I just kept on writing more stuff down to talk about. So yes, your first comments, the research. options and have the city bring forth. I think that's a great idea to get some progress on that issue with the affected neighborhoods during those rain events. I think it's a good idea. I'm going to try to be really quick on some of these. Congratulations to Live Well on their recipients on the grant applications. Great job with the fire department. Like I said on the presentation, having those kind of opportunities is amazing. And like I said, recruitment, those kinds of things where you say, hey, you might be working, your normal job in a small town, but then you get to go do these extra things. I think that's super cool, and I'm glad that we have the ability to be able to let our employees do that sort of thing. Great ribbon cutting this morning. Good work on 8th Street. It is actually the first time in a while that I drove southbound. I always drive northbound from work, but I never drive southbound. It really is nice coming in. You have the school, and you have Sabine House, and you have all that. That's really neat. Good job on that whole thing, and the art installation. Really cool at night, if you haven't been by there at night when that's lit up. Great reception at the airport. Really good turnout. So good job on all of that. Really exciting to see all the excitement that's on there. I was texting family members and said, guess where I'm at? Nobody could guess that this was Garden City. So just these kinds of things that as a gateway to our community and gateway to Southwest Kansas, that is going to be really good to see. Remember, Community Mexican Fiesta is coming up this weekend. Fall Fest coming up the weekend after that. We really get into this festival season, so make sure you go to all those things. This really just a random list of things. When we are talking with KDOT, with Ike, we need to make sure we keep in touch with their scoring system. If they've been made minimal changes, we know minimal changes means that there's going to be preferences baked into those scoring systems. So just keep in mind when we do that. Southwest Kansas Medical Education Hub, great to see them moving forward with that. Going to be great for Southwest Kansas. Great to see the partnership between Kansas Health and Science Center and Newman University. Really excited to see all that. Nice to see Topeka impose their thoughts and processes on our budgetary system, putting forth a revenue neutral rate notice that I would say is misleading at best, and presenting a flat tax rate as a tax increase. Where we all know that our mill rate is not going to increase at all, which is really the thing that we can keep our baseline at. We're going to keep a flat mill. It was interesting to see how that was presented in their documents, and if that's the case, it really, if we're going to get dinged for keeping the tax rate flat or increasing it, maybe there's reasons that we just need to go with one way or the other. Remember that the candidate events, I'm sorry. I had a lot. Remember that there's all the candidate events coming up for the elections. The Chamber of Commerce meet and greet will be September 26th at the Clarion at 6 p.m. Remember, that's happening. There's also the City Commission debate October 3rd here, also hosted by Chamber of Commerce. And the Board of Education and Trustees is a different day, but it's a day that's really close to the 3rd. I don't want to say the wrong day. Finally, we were able to go review the Hunden report over the last town hall meeting, if you didn't get time to see it. I would say that once you start to look and you have reason to start looking deeper, then you start looking even further. And so I was looking through the previous report that they did. And one of the things that they said in the previous report that demand for ice was minimal or non-existent. And the report that we just got, or the county just got, we had a gymnastics over 2022. The amount of people that went to gymnastics in Garden City, the new Gymnastics O'Brate Center, was 17,000. If we look at the 10 dates, the last 10 dates that United Wireless had ice down, so they only had 10 dates in 2021, the amount of people that went there was 12,000 people. So if we're talking about a gymnastics center that's open for 365 days out of the year versus an opportunity that's only there for 10 days, and we're getting roughly somewhere, there's still 50% more, but 365 versus 10, to say that the demand for ice is minimal or non-existent, I think might be an oversimplification from the report. So just one of those things, I started to go look at all the other stuff that they've done and go look at Placer and stuff like that. So just to put that out there, just while we're reviewing those reports that we have from them. So that concludes my 15 minutes.
Okay. Commissioner Unruh.
So I just want to commend you, Mayor, on, really stepping up as a great follow-up to it was probably one of the most powerful town hall meetings I've ever been to, but you really stepping up and letting people know that we are moving forward and there is something happening. And so I really appreciate your words. I thought I think summed up everything that a lot of people don't know the background. So I thought that was really well done. And then also I really appreciate your leadership in stepping out and saying, hey, let's make sure we do something and how it impacts everyone. I do want to say all the people who received grants, which were a lot this time. So not only Louisville, Finney County, but also the two grantees in the AFAC funds. There is some really excellent work going on, and those grants are not easy to get or easy to write. And so I thought that was exciting. And also I love it when we get grants from the state agencies and the federal government. I think I think when you spend it in Garden City or anywhere near us, I think that's money well spent. I was also excited about the Kansas Medical Center, or that medical hub. Now, I had this thinking that it was an actual physical place, but the thing I thought was really exciting about it is the compliment that she gave Garden City, and that we are able to work together, and that's really what we're known for in the state, that we work together. I do want to say thank you to all of those who stepped up and are on the new advisory committees. That's a lot of volunteer time and a lot of work, but it is so worth it, and it informs the commission in ways that you cannot only imagine. And also all of the citizens who spoke. It is not easy to come before the governing body and speak, but I really appreciate citizens who, are willing to do that, take the time, because a lot of people are working during this time, but they step up and they, are able to really articulate the things that they're concerned about, and it isn't easy. And so I really appreciate, them stepping up and actually letting their voices be heard. That's really what the commission's about. I do want to just finish with the Hunden report. Other than the firefighters, I thought that was so cool. And Alaska, I had no idea what Alaska looked like, so I learned a lot about. I thought Alaska was all snow, so go there now. I'll have to go to Alaska someday, not as a firefighter, but I did think the Hunden report, one thing I wanted to ask about that is, when I looked at all the reports that we've done, not only the zoo report, but also the recreation report, I was wondering if there were any surprises, and I kept looking for a surprise or something that was maybe hidden jewel or something that we could latch onto. But a lot of the things that I saw in the report were things that we had already determined. So I wasn't really sure, and that's something now I'm going to check with those who actually requested the Hunden report to see if there were any surprises. And I was going to ask it that night and I had forgotten, but I really didn't see anything. I knew it qualifies and really says, hey, here are some things that we need to move forward on. But as far as the report, I think it emphasized the quality of the reports that we've already done. And in the Hunden report, I didn't know if there was anything that there were surprises. And so that's a question for those who actually commissioned the report. If there's something that they saw, I would be really interested in that. Other than that, I really appreciate, all of the different ribbon cuttings. It was a lot of driving through Garden City, but it was kind of fun, and also avoiding some of the road construction. So I thought that was really a neat opportunity to get together with people to really celebrate, and our airport is absolutely amazing.
Commissioner Cessna.
The word for the day that I took away was partnerships. You heard it at the 3 ribbon cuttings. You heard it from all of the speakers, that it really takes a partnership or partnerships to get to where we're at. And I think Garden City does a really outstanding job of creating those partnerships and working with people to build those relationships to get to where we're at right now, making us a regional center for not only retail industry, but also transportation, as we've seen today. I want to congratulate our water department, Fred. Also would like to thank Secretary Reed for coming today and participating in all of the ribbon cutting ceremonies and speaking before the commission, and just kind of letting us know where the state is at on transportation funding. That gives us a better idea on how we move forward as a community. And talking partnerships, it's all staff, and I've heard from people in the community that our city employees do an outstanding job. And I've heard from a few community, I'm taking a little time here, but like our electric department, they were changing out a pole and some lights in some areas, and the residents were there looking at seeing what they were trying to do. And so the electric employees stopped, went over and discussed what their process was, what they were going to do. And it really made them feel good, and they were telling me this, it really made them feel good because they went through the process, and it really helped them understand, why they were doing it. So it's, again, kind of that partnership, building that relationship with our community, explaining what they're doing. So great job to our electric department. All of our departments do an outstanding job and really building partnerships in the community. Just one thing outstanding. Then over the weekend, just a quick story. Over the weekend, after church service, we always go out to eat, and with my mother and father-in-law, we ordered our food and went and sat down. And then my mother and father-in-law came and sat down, and they said this couple that was standing behind them paid it forward and bought their lunch. They were from out of town, from Colorado, and they were had attended because of the holiday weekend, but came to the water park, and this was their third or fourth time that they were in the water park. But again, it's creating those attractions to bring those people into our community, and they were visiting about why they came to Garden City, but it was that and other reasons for coming to the community. That's why we're building that regionalization to be the regional hub of western Kansas, eastern Colorado, the Oklahoma Panhandle. But I thought that was a great story where they paid it forward, but then kind of explained why they were here. So just thought I'd share that with the community. That's all I've got. Thank you. But again, partnerships.
Yes. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thanks. Yeah, I won't repeat anything you guys said. I really did have partnerships written down too, and that's what I was going to talk about as well. But I think I'll kind of start off with our council as well. You guys do an amazing job with, going through the language for the ordinances and things like that, just to make sure that we got everything in line. So I want to give thanks to you and your fellow workers at your office. So, but yeah, we appreciate all that hard work. And that goes along with partnerships too, with, working together as a community, working together with people who are coming into the community, and also the people that live here in the community. So I've kind of, at the town hall meeting, we kind of discussed that. And what we want to do is not only make this a great and prosperous place for out-of-towners to come, but we also still want to keep that same homey feel for our residents who live here and who have lived here for a number of years. So that partnership and relationships, and I think you kind of misspoke a little bit when you said family, but I think we see Garden City as a family as well. And that was in the proclamation that we read for Welcoming Week, and that Welcoming Week was a good. I think that was a good proclamation to read. Just talking about the welcoming part of it. So welcoming in Garden City, but again, I think we've kind of learned a lot today with those ribbon cuttings too on the partnerships. But you guys mentioned a lot. So you hit everything that I had to. So, but on the topic for the town hall meeting, I am looking for a solution and moving forward for those residents. I know it's kind of, you get one side of the story or the other, and it's, you really kind of try to keep your personal feelings out of it and just trying to find a way to move forward together as a community and find those solutions. I think one thing I might throw out there, just kind of as an option, and I kind of talked about it in my office, not just a backflow preventer for the homes itself, but maybe there's a main line that we can put a backflow preventer on to give a secondary option, or maybe goes into a sump pit that kind of ejects onto the street, just for stormwater prevention. So that maybe go into, and that would cover a multitude of houses and not just one, or you do both, whatever that is. But yeah, I think giving it options for that community, that area would be in favor on my part. So with that, I think that's all. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
I am in favor of what you discussed as bringing proposals. I'm sorry that I could not be at the town hall meeting that evening. I was at a state budget meeting for a state organization, and I was out of town. But I did watch the meeting, and I agree, we really need to work on fixing the situation, because Garden City is a great place to live, work, and raise a family, and this is an issue. I know we've worked on it, but it sounds like we need to work on it a little bit more. Thank you.
Well, and I wanted to thank, obviously I didn't have all of the background, and so I wanted to thank the staff that helped me with that, coming up with the numbers, because there were a lot of numbers and I had to make sure that I didn't, I had to read some of these things a few times, but just having that, again, we talk about partnerships, but, we see a problem and it was brought to our attention. And there's a solution out there somewhere. And so it's figuring out what that solution is to make sure that, the people who do want to live here and are safe when they're here. And so thank you for the vote of confidence and the consensus on that. I also wanted to thank Father Cameron Randall and Tanya Ibarra for stepping up on those community boards. I mean, that's something that, I'm passionate about, is making sure that people are involved and engaged. And being on those community advisory boards is a great way to do that. And so it certainly does take people who are willing to stand up, because it does mean that there's time involved in that. However, it's also a great way to get to know the city too. And so it's an opportunity to serve. And I think, ultimately that's really what we're all about, is serving our community. And so thank you all for your service. And with that, I will close today's meeting. Thank you.
I do have
We need to sign.
the budget certificate, and you all to sign, please.